Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Healthy Human Podcast. It's your host, Eric Freedom. And today, as always, we are discussing the 5 factors of health: training, mindset, nutrition, rest and recovery, and connection. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Mr. Ron Mukai here. We met about a year ago? Not even.
I don't even remember.
I don't even know how we officially met, but through Morris.
Yes.
And so for those of you guys that don't know, he is the founder of East LA Jiu-Jitsu as well as Ethos Jiu-Jitsu Fullerton.
Correct.
He is a 2nd degree black belt
Yes.
in Jiu-Jitsu. And I sit on his board at East LA Jiu-Jitsu, so that's the context of our relationship. And they have a really awesome mission in what they do. He is 55 years old. He's married to his awesome wife, Wendy, and have 4 kids and 1 awesome daughter-in-law. And that's just as last week.
Correct.
Week. Congratulations. And by the grace of God, he is a recovering lawyer. That's funny. I got to hear more about that. What does that even mean? He's a recovering lawyer, broker, real estate developer, entrepreneur, but his real passion is teaching jiu-jitsu. And I can see you bleed jiu-jitsu. Ron started jiu-jitsu at the age of 39 years old, got his black belt, and opened 2 schools, the ones I just mentioned. And East LA Jiu-Jitsu is a nonprofit school where Ron was born. And we'll talk about what that means too. Ron and his team will open a 3rd school, Boyle Heights Jiu-Jitsu. I've seen really cool renderings of that. That's going to be really exciting. Opening in January of 2025 in the city of Los Angeles. And Ron's motto is, today is the best day of my life. So today is going to be the best day of his life.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here today, man. I want to clarify the intro itself. What it's like Drew jokes that he's a recovering Catholic. What is a recovering lawyer, broker, real estate, and entrepreneur?
I think that, like a lot of Asian kids, my path was kind of set for me. I didn't even realize it, but I was just always going to be a lawyer. And then I went to high school, I went to college, I went to law school, and then I got out, took the bar, and I was practicing law. And I didn't really understand what lawyers did, nor was I really good at it in any capacity. And I was doing that for about 3 years, 4 years. And then my mom got sick with terminal cancer. And I decided that I'm going to quit the law firm and go take care of her, which was a very unorthodox thing to do. And when I did that and I started doing other things, I realized that, you know, a lot of folks, especially young adults, they don't know why they do what they do. They just want to make other people happy or be quote unquote successful. So I just did what I thought I should do. And when I realized that wasn't my calling, I wasn't good at it, I didn't enjoy it, it opened up this whole world of opportunity for me. There's a lot of folks that I went to law school with that are still practicing law, and many of them don't even like it. It's just what they're doing. So when I say recovering, when I stopped practicing, because you think of everything, you think of your time as billable hours. So me having a conversation with you about nothing, it has a lot of value, but in a lawyer's mind, you're just wasting time because you could be working those hours and billing for that time, or you have a quota you need to meet. That's what I mean by recovering lawyer is I had to really retrain my mind in what I thought was significant or important, how I spent my time, just giving yourself the freedom to pursue your passion and not just, I talk to kids all the time, you know, it's like, what do you want to do? I want to be a CPA. Do you even know what CPAs do? They're like, no.
Yeah.
Why do you? So their dad just told them they should be a CPA, so that's why they're a CPA.
Or it's like, it's a stable job that'll it's always needed.
Correct. So that's what I mean by recovering.
What you're 55 today. What age were you when your mom got sick?
Well, she was sick all through her 50s. So she died before I got married. So she died when I was 28 or 29. So it was really young. And this is another epiphany I had. I watched my parents work super hard. I don't really think they enjoyed marriage. I don't really think they enjoyed life. They were living their life for the success of their kids. I know that probably resonates with, a lot of Asians out there. And my dad had all these plans when my mom was going to retire from her teaching job.
Yeah.
And then she got sick and she died. And I watched them go through that process, and it really, because remember, you think about what you want to do, who you want to be, and then you think about it. Some of life is a reaction about who you don't want to be or what you don't want to do. When I saw that happen to my dad, I said, this is a guy that grinded his whole life so he can enjoy this mythical future retirement, great life.
Yeah.
And then his wife goes and prematurely dies of lung cancer. And now what? So that really got me off of this train of just going through the motions, you know, and really starting to, hence my motto, which is still a work in progress, but today's the best day of my life. Yeah. I'm not living for 10 years. I used to have a 20-year plan. I don't even have a 1-year plan.
Wow.
I pretty much, I know what I'm going to do until about February. And then after that, it's anybody's guess.
That's, wow. I wonder if that's because I'm not wired that way, at least not in this season of my life.
Well, how old are you though?
37.
See, that's what I'm saying. At 30, it's okay. I mean,
I'm learning that, but that is like against my flesh. Like I'm learning this year, like my big word for this year, for 2024 was patience. And I already know my word for next year. It's peace and play. It's to learn how to play, because I'm really bad at it. Like I don't vacation well. I don't even know how to just like play at like eye level with my kids really well, because it's not very performative.
What's the metric for success with rolling around on the floor with your kid?
Yeah, their attention, I think, right? And then I think just peace and everything that I'm doing, right? And that's taken me like 11 months of this year to get to that. Like that's excuse me, that's the focus of next year. But yeah, I don't do that well. Like I always have like I'm always dreaming. I'm always thinking of like, how do I step more into my calling, and how do I use the resources that I've been given to do the best work possible. You know, so I wonder if that's going to shift when I get closer to my 50s.
Well, I think I'll say it this way. I still work really hard at the things that I can control.
I know. Yeah.
But on the things that I can't control, I just yield them to God.
Yeah.
I don't even give 1 minute. Actually, that's a lie. I give 1 minute. But I try my best not to dwell on the things that I can't control, because that's the stuff that'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
You know, in my short legal career, I would have people that are getting divorced and they're agonizing about what their soon to be ex-spouse is going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you spending so much time worrying about what he or she's going to do? You have no control. Oh, is my soon to be ex-spouse going to bring their new boyfriend or girlfriend around my kids? Yeah. I'm like, talk about madness. You can't control that. Yeah. So, you know, as a Christian, speaking from a spiritual perspective, it's like God is ultimately in control. God is in control of the good things. He allows the bad things. So I can't control those things. I can only control my response to them. I control my thoughts, what I choose to dwell on. I control my character, my self-control. Yeah. I control who I surround myself with. Yeah. Those are the things that I work super hard at. Yeah. Everything else, it's like, why waste your mind space?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a natural iteration of somebody. I mean, you're way ahead of the game, bro. Trust me. I deal a lot with a lot of 30-somethings. You're way ahead of the game. And it's because of who you surround yourself with. Yeah. You know, because I think wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes, not from your own mistakes. You know, like when you pray for patience, you're going to learn patience.
Oh.
I mean, I would say don't pray for patience because it's a hard road.
Yeah, that was my, that was my January, like, I did a 3-day fast. And like, that's kind of like what I kind of came out with. And then I felt anxious for, honestly, up until like a month ago. So like about 3-4 weeks ago, like I had this like, I'm not gonna use the word epiphany, but like things just got super clear. Like we haven't talked personally in a while, right? Yeah. But it's like, I know what the next, rounding back to what you were saying, is like, I know what the next 5-10 years kind of looks like now. Not fully, obviously, but like, I know the direction, like I know the things that I need to be faithful in and like held accountable to, and what the metrics of that look like within my control. And I just like, I didn't really have that this whole year. And I think for me, because of my positions that I hold and, at the gym that we own, like I feel a responsibility to people, and you never want to feel like you're flying blind when you're leading people, right? You want to be a responsible leader. So that was bothering me a lot, but the peace that I feel right now is like tremendous.
Nice.
I just feel like I can't I'm already winning, and I just like, let's just run the score up. That's kind of how I feel right now. So
nice.
Yeah.
My goal is also peace. It used to be productivity. Now it's peace.
Oh, from productivity to peace, the P to the P. Okay. I like that.
Because, you can have a super productive day and have a miserable day.
Yeah. It sounds like so how old was your mother when she passed?
60.
And how
But her
long-
quality of life sucked since she was 50.
So about 10 years.
Yeah, she just existed.
And at what point of that did it cause you to shift?
There was one defining moment, because like most 20-something-year-olds, I was totally consumed with myself. And then when a doctor told her it went from your lungs to your brain, you got 6 months, that's when I woke up and I'm like, oh man, like she's going to be dead in 6 months. So I literally had the come to Jesus talk with her, like, who is God to you? Because, we're Asian. We never sat around and hugged each other, talked about our feelings right at home. Right? And so for me to sit and talk to my mom about what she believes, who she believes in, is there an afterlife, is there heaven, that was a heavy moment.
Sure.
And in typical, Chinese mom fashion, she said, thanks. That was her response. Thanks.
Oh, your mom's Chinese.
I'm half Chinese, half Japanese.
Oh, dude, I thought you were
no.
like Japanese this whole time.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were super Chinese.
Okay. Oh, dang.
Yeah.
What generation Japanese? Sorry, I just like totally pivoted. What,
So
what generation
my
Japanese was your
great
dad?
grandparents came to work on the railroads. They were Cantonese.
San Francisco.
Yeah, and then they moved
Dude.
to Arizona, and then they moved to East LA. But they were super Chinese in terms of like just the whole like non-emotional thing.
Sure.
Very
Yeah, that's
passive aggressive.
yes.
I hate to sound like, I don't want to talk negatively about Chinese.
Sure.
But it's like my mom's family was very passive aggressive. They never talked about anything. Like when they all died, they never had a funeral. They just moved on like nothing ever happened. Like,
Oh, that's kind of not that Asian. I feel like Asians mourn pretty hard.
I mean, maybe they did, but they didn't really dwell on it. I don't really have a lot of context because I didn't grow up with a lot of Chinese people except for my family.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and you're not like, you're Chinese culturally, but like the language was gone like 2 generations ago.
correct. Well, yeah. Well, my grandma and my older aunts spoke Cantonese.
Okay.
And we
Not
ate
your-
Chinese food like 4 times a week.
but not your mom.
I think my mom could understand it.
Okay, your mom's like me.
Yeah.
She's born here.
But it was interesting because my mom was the matriarch of the family. So she walked quietly, but she carried a big stick. Like she told everybody what to do and they
That
would
sounds
just
like
go
a
do
Chinese
it.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your dad? So what generation Japanese was your dad?
So my dad was 2nd generation Japanese, but so my mom was like the prom queen, student. She was a teacher. My dad was like getting beat up from the cops, just angry Japanese dude. People would call him a Jap and he'd want to go fight him.
I was gonna say, was he internment camp Japanese?
Correct. He went in when he was 8 and he got out when he was 11.
Santa Anita?
Yes. Yeah. Well, they took him to Santa Anita first and they stayed in the horse stables and then they shipped him to Heart Mountain, Wyoming. Wow. And then they almost got deported. They sent him to Tule Lake in Northern California and they were going to deport their whole family. And then some nuns saved their family. So the story goes.
That's so crazy because your dad's like, dude, I'm American.
Yeah. So my dad kind of grew up angry. What's funny is, right, I'm a church guy.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks I kind of grew up in a cave reading the Bible. They have no idea who my dad was. So my dad was just this really straight up guy.
Yeah.
Had entrepreneur,
Yeah.
loved to fish, loved to drink Chivas and bowl with his buddies.
Yeah. Did your parents meet in East LA?
Yeah, so they met at Garfield High School. Yeah. But I mean, it was really taboo because my dad was Japanese and my mom was Chinese.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for the family to sort of accept him.
Yeah. Wow. That's some culture for you right there. I didn't know that about you.
Now you do?
Hey, give me your best ni hao, dude.
Ni hao ma.
They sound like Kara. Okay. Oh, man, that's good. Okay.
I just know the food. That's all I know.
Oh, wow.
I can't speak.
Wow. Dang, okay. That tells me how legit Chinese you are. Wow. That's crazy. Wow, man. So you went through this really big life shift. Your mom passes, and you're like, that's not what life is about anymore. How did you get to, that you explained the recovering lawyer and all that stuff. How did you get to where you're at today?
Well, I think one of the things I talk to my students, I talk to everybody about this, is overcoming fear. I think that if we as individuals, if each person can sit down and say, okay, this is who I am, not what I do, because who you are dictates what you do. Your character, your work ethic, your resolve, all these things will dictate what you do. If you can understand who you actually are, and in the context, again, of me being a Christian, I think I work hard at the things I can control, and I trust God for all the things I can't control.
Sure.
So to live life in the absence of fear and go big, live your best life, I talk a lot with my students about this because, in my opinion, of dealing with a lot of teens, people from all walks of life, whether they understand it or admit it or not, most people are terrified of failure and judgment. Yeah. And they spend most of their life either creating these safe zones where they won't fail, or they create this illusion of themselves where they're not being intellectually honest with who they actually are. I'm sure you see it all the time. It's like they fancy themselves one way and they are not that way. Yeah. And I'm not saying pretend not to be scared. I'm saying actually discern what is a legitimate fear and what is just a figment in your own imagination. And then recognizing that if you fail, it doesn't make you a failure. It just means it didn't go your way and there's something to learn or there's something to improve on. But when you start living life in the context of not fear-based, but basically like you just said earlier, like, what's my purpose? If I realize like God has given me a purpose to be a child of God, to be an excellent husband, to be an excellent father, to steward this group of people that God has entrusted me with, to be excellent, right? Which is also what I try to show to my community, be excellent. Yeah. When you understand that, now you're moving forward. It doesn't mean you don't have fear, but you're understanding that a necessary part of your job is to overcome that fear. Yeah. Now you're truly living your life because now you're not living with regret from the past, which you're not executing because you're afraid. So now you're like, I should have done that last year. And you're not living with fear in the future. You're truly being present. Hence my motto, today's the best day of my life. Because if I'm all in for today, if my job today is to talk to you for however much time, then that's my job. Yeah. Okay. So it simplifies life, but it makes it much more rich. I think it was Oswald Chambers that says, true religion is to serve God through the mundane things in life. But if you look at every mundane thing in life as a significant thing that you have a chance to do excellently, and you can model excellence and you can model servanthood, now it's not mundane. Now you find joy in like the simple things. Now, back to the analogy of you playing with your kid. There's really no point to it. But if you're excellent at it and you do it with your whole heart, God's going to honor that. It takes on more meaning. So nothing is a waste of your time.
My motto that it actually came from the founder of CrossFit I found it like in 2009. So like 2009 through 2015, my motto and like one of my main mottos in life was to do the common uncommonly well. Right. And that's, he's referring to like basic movement patterns, air squat, like stuff like that. But you can take that and apply to like everyday things in life. Right. It's like, how do you just do the common things in your life? Just strangely well, you know. And I think that's what excellence is to me. It's like, how can you do that? And that's not make it. Maybe it is mundane, but like you bring beauty into it,
right?
You know. So I love that. That's cool. You know, East LA is like where you say you were born again. There's so you know, you opened your first school. You're not nonprofit school ethos. When you origin story, like why East LA? Other than you're from there, yeah.
My family's from there. I'm from there. I moved to Whittier when I was young. I came back to work there in '95, and I built a commercial development there. I got super involved in business, in the community, in the politics of it all. And I realized that East LA is a great place. Really good people, really loyal. Many times, the people of East LA had my back. Because what I was trying to do was pretty revolutionary. I was trying to build a bigger shopping center. And the government at the time was very unfriendly to anything where there was significant risk or significant scale. And so, but it's the people that backed me up in public hearings, just by giving me their support. And that really spoke volumes to me. And at the same time, I grew to understand the needs of the community, which is, I don't agree with this whole victim mentality. Like, you can't do something because you're this, or you're from here, or your parents are this, or, you know, I believe that I've watched it with my Brazilian friends. I've watched people come with, I have several guys that I do jiu-jitsu with that came with the money in their pocket, and now they're very, very successful, you know?
Yeah.
And so my wife's family, they're all immigrants from Mexico. My wife was born in Mexico. They made something out of themselves because it's the American dream. And so when I see some parts of East LA and it's like they're not living their best life, but they're not really trying, and they're saying, oh, it's because it's some external thing's fault. I disagree with that statement. So during the pandemic, so I was always super involved in East LA since the mid-90s. But I always wanted, since I started doing jiu-jitsu in 2009, I wanted to do a jiu-jitsu school in East LA. It was during the pandemic that I realized that now is the time, and I could be like everybody else and complain about the demise of where East LA was going, or I could do something about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. And it was a simple idea, and I think God blessed it. I think we were at the right place at the right time, with the right heart, with a bunch of like-minded people.
Yeah.
Similar to what you built here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just you. It's you and a bunch of like-minded people all working towards a common goal. Yeah. And you're meeting the need. You're scratching the itch. Yeah. And the market is showing that you're in that sweet spot. I think it's the same thing with East LA Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, we're 2.5 years in, a little more than 2.5 years in. We got 250 students, plus another roughly 100 in all these other programs. Yeah. And it's like, it's not a commodity. What I love about East LA Jiu-Jitsu is it's not a commodity. It's like we are, and we're very blatant about it. Like, we want to build character in all of our students through jiu-jitsu. We want to help you raise your sons and daughters. We want to mentor them. Yeah. It's not a transaction for money. Yeah. You know, and I think that comes across from the buy-in from all of our parents. You know, there was a gal yesterday when I was at the gym, and she was just there cleaning because she's a single mom and she has time during the day. And I don't really know they pay what they can afford. So, but I don't keep track of who pays what. So I really have no idea what this particular mom pays. But she's like, I'm here cleaning the gym because I want to help you guys, you know, this is my contribution. Yeah. And I think I love that whole mentality because it's like, okay, I'm all in helping you raise your kids, and you're all in helping me keep my gym clean, and none of this is for money. Yeah. So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Love that, dude. It's a mission that I definitely an honor to serve in and serve with you guys, and I definitely back you guys on that. Let me ask you a question. This is more for me, but we'll drop it on the podcast here. At 37 years old, I've done a lot of things. I've coached a lot of people. I've built a lot of things, and the mission, we're like 12 years into a 30-year mission. And I shared with you that at the board meeting, right? Like I'm committed to that. I'm going to see that through, and then I will legacy plan beyond that once we get there. But we are on track. In fact, we're probably ahead this year on hitting that mission we want to reach 6,000 people in 30 years because that's 2,000 people a year, and 6,000 people is 10% of Arcadia, the city that we're in right now, the San Gabriel Valley. And I believe that 10% if you can change 10% of the community, you can change an entire community.
Sure.
Right? If there's enough impact that 10% of the community has changed, we can make deep, meaningful impact. It's tough because I think that the things that you fight are different from we jokingly called this the Chinese Beverly Hills, right? And people are very distracted by different things, right? The types of problems that people face here are very different from the problems that people face in East LA.
Sure, it's first world problems.
It's first world problems.
The Mercedes broke down.
Yeah, and I'm Mercedes broke, right? And I'm highly aware and acute to these things, and sometimes I get really frustrated with the narrative of what is common or standard for people here, and I really want to trailblaze a different mindset or a different approach to life. If you're me, how do you approach that?
Okay, so
other than doing what I'm already doing.
So let's break it down. Whether you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're yellow, you're brown, you come from Arcadia or from East LA, I believe, because I'm in the people business, you're in the people business, we study people. Everybody wants the same thing. Every man wants to be respected and loved by his wife. They want to be respected and loved by their kids. They want to wake up every day and do something that they consider meaningful. They want to provide for their household. They want to go to sleep at night with peace, knowing that they had a productive day, knowing that they have a future, right? I don't care if it transcends race, it transcends socioeconomic background, it transcends all these things. So when you distill it down, everybody's looking for the same thing. Now, I think in many ways, dealing with people that are well-to-do is easier than dealing with people that still haven't made it. Because the illusion with people that haven't made it yet is when I get rich, I'm going to be happy. The people that already, quote unquote, have made it, they have to tell themselves some other lie, because they can't tell themselves, as soon as I make $1 million, or as soon as I get a house in Arcadia, I'm going to be happy. Because they already have a house in Arcadia and they probably already have $1 million. So I think the trick is recognizing, I'll give you it's a podcast, so I can rabbit trail a little bit. In your teens, in your early 20s, you're trying to have a good time. Trying to meet the woman of your dreams, you're trying to have experiences, you're trying to do all these things. If you're more entrepreneurial, you're already trying to grind and make money. Now you meet the woman of your dreams or the man of your dreams, and now you're trying to be successful. You're trying to build a life, buy that first house, get into your career, be established. Now you're in your mid-30s and you start having kids, and now it's all about making your kids successful while building this empire, okay? Now you're in your mid-40s, late 40s. You've built the empire. Now you're approaching 50, and now your kids start to leave, and you realize, I don't really have a great marriage. My kids don't really like me. I have all this stuff and I'm not really happy. That's where midlife crisis comes in. Okay.
And you think this is average for late 40s to 50-year-old?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's like the religious version of midlife crisis, and then there's the go crazy and get a new girlfriend and buy a Porsche version of midlife crisis. It's all the same. It's this existential reality check where you're like, I've worked so hard all my life for these things and I'm still not happy. That, again, it doesn't only happen to this strata of people. It happens across the board. It just manifests itself in different ways. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you understand that human nature is the same, people are the same, it's more of how can I affect change? And let me go 2 different ways with this. One is you have to model it. And again, you have to focus on the things you can control. You can't control a third person's behavior. You can merely model it. And it's like, how crooked does the crooked stick recognize it is? By being lined up next to the straight stick. So just be the straight stick. And they will either recognize that and want to be a part of it and stay here at your gym, or they will flee.
Yep.
Right? Which you see a lot of people flee and they're like, oh, I don't have time, blah, 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 blah. The truth is they don't want to be changed. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want to be changed. They want to be in an ecosystem which is the greatest lie ever. Unconditional love is you take me just like I am, which is a crock of poop. It's not true, right? So that's one idea is everybody's looking for the same things. If they're attracted to what you have to offer, they will stay in your system. But the other challenge is,
that's good.
It's not necessarily how wide you go, it's how deep you go. Like, I'll give you an example. With East LA Jiu-Jitsu, I'm 55 years old. And I could live forever, but I probably won't. But if I can produce...
We're working on nutrition, and you'll live a little longer.
I hope so. But if I can produce the guy, if I'm behind the guy that has 10 times more vision than I do, that has 100% ability to work longer and faster and stronger and more efficiently than I do. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Who has the faith, who has the character to be able to withstand the rigors of true success. Because I think success can be a gift or it could also be a curse. If you don't have the character to be able to sustain that money or that power or that influence, it could be the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Sure. Seen that
so
over and over, yeah.
When I look at success, it's not necessarily wide. It could be deep. So yes, I want to reach 1 million people. I want every kid in East LA to train jiu-jitsu. I want to be everywhere. I want to be a household name, just like King Taco is a household name, or like the Whittier Arch is a household name in East LA. Yeah. I want East LA Jiu-Jitsu to be a household name. Yeah.
It's going to be.
Yeah. I believe that.
Let's go, baby.
But it's not necessarily because I reach every kid. My gift may be that I'm gonna go deep with X amount of people, and one of those kids is going to be the person that takes it forever. And you can't discount that, Eric. Yeah. You might be the guy that raises up the guy that is the next guy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where in the pursuit of success, in the pursuit of the 20-year plan, if you discount the person that you need to talk to in the next hour because you're too busy, you can overlook that opportunity to be the guy to that guy who could take this vision places you couldn't take it. This is what I learned well into my, I'd say late 40s into my 50s, is I can miss out on the greatest opportunities that God has for me because I'm too busy pursuing my agenda for the day to stop and have one conversation. Like, I'll give you an example. I was at a wedding, my son's wedding, reception over the weekend, and I talked to this couple, and I really feel like I stopped and I talked to them, maybe took 5-10 minutes, but I said some things to them that they really needed to hear and that could change the next year of their life. But all I did was make myself available. And it's like, usually at these things, like, it's so political. You're trying to say hi to everybody and you got to introduce so-and-so to somebody. Yeah. One of the things I purposely did, and again, this is like, because I'm 55. And it's like, I'm not just pretending not to care. I really don't care. Yeah. But imagine this. It's my son's wedding. They had a destination wedding in Hawaii. I didn't tell them one person to invite. I didn't tell them one person not to invite. I didn't tell them I didn't make any decisions for that wedding.
Very un-Chinese of you.
Yeah. And then for the reception, they invited exactly who they want to invite. I didn't make one political decision on who to invite. So me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there would have been 400 people on that list because I had to invite these people for my own benefit. Because I had these objectives, and this is a strategic event that helps me cement these, you know what I mean? It's super political.
It's your Chinese.
But what I'm realizing is what was more beneficial for me is to actually be fully present and enjoy that day. And that's what I did. I walked around and I talked to the people I wanted to talk to, and I just stood there and took it all in.
Yeah.
You know, what I told my wife is, so many times as parents, we want to be like, oh, so-and-so's doing this. Oh, we got to change that. Oh, so-and-so's hanging out with so-and-so. That's a bad influence. Oh, so-and-so's on the video game too much. We got to change that. We're always like tweaking things to make things better. What I told my wife is I said, hey, this is a win. We raised a really good kid with good character who loves God, who met the girl of his dreams, who also loves God. They fell in love. They did it the right way. Everybody in their life affirms that fact. And now they're getting married and we're sending them off on this awesome life. We need to stop and we need to like, hey, give each other a high five. Like, hey, that's a success story.
Yeah.
Because you don't really, in marriage, in life even, you don't really have a lot of success stories. Usually it's like, oh, that's great. Now on to the next thing. Now on to the next thing. But this is what I tried to make this whole week about, is like, let's just recognize the goodness of God, the grace of God. Let's give each other a high five. And this is a win. Like, we launched this kid. I mean,
Amazing.
you know, I know myself, I should have produced like a super screwed up kid. But by the grace of God, I didn't. He's okay. You know?
Yeah.
But that was a very long point to make of, sometimes it's not how wide you go, it's how deep you go, but you have to be present enough to recognize that the opportunity is right in front of you.
I'm preaching right now.
There you go.
Let's go. That's a word right there. Wow, this is a really rich conversation. For you, what do you know, we talk about happy, healthy humans, right? What is that to you?
Well, I had cancer. I have this like calcium thing, high calcium in my heart. It's not super bad, but it's like enough where they're like, oh, you got to go deal with it, right? Yeah. So I think, first of all, is you wake up every morning and there's gratitude. I always tell my kids, focus on what you have, not what you don't have. So there's gratitude for actually being alive. If you wake up every morning, you're like, I'm actually still alive. Thank you, God. Okay? My wife still loves me. My kids still love me. If that's your starting point,
Yeah.
then you're going to have gratitude and it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second is again, because productivity, it's a very good goal, but you're a high functioning individual. If nobody's slowing you down, probably your definition of a good day is you wake up at 2 a.m. like you just admitted to, and you go to bed at 10 p.m. and you're totally exhausted, but you got 50,000 things done. That's great now, okay? But then I'll challenge you. Maybe in your life, the wheels will never fall off your bus, okay? Because they're bolted on. Or you're super Chinese and you're like, you know what?
So
the recipe's going to fall apart first before the wheels fall
So what
off.
happened for me, like last week, was I've been running like on this like I've been waking up between like 2:30 and like 5 a.m. Just no alarm. My alarm is always set between, depending on when I have to start my day, between 4 and 5 a.m. But I've been waking up like an hour to hour and a half early. No alarm clock. And then I wake up and I'm like, I'm up. And
What time do you go to bed?
I fall asleep between my kids go down at 8:30, and I'll fall asleep half an hour to an hour later. So I'm trying to get like 7+ hours, but like I've been so hyped on life that I just like, I wake up and I'm like, oh, well, it's time to get to work. You know, so I start my day, I like, you know, like I pray, I, you know, do some FaceTime, listen to some music, you know, and then I read, I journal, I write 1,000 words every morning. And I don't know, I'm like super alive, but by the end of my day, I am dead. I'm finished, I'm wiped.
Does your wife get your best, or does she get whatever's left over?
She's been getting my best.
Dude, then you're an animal. If you can get up at 2 o'clock and give her your best, you're all right.
I don't know how I'm doing it right now. It's a really weird energy that I'm carrying right now. My marriage is the best it's been, like years and years.
Must be all the grass-fed beef you're eating.
Might be all the bison I get from Iowa. But yeah, my marriage is amazing. It's in the best place it's been, where communication is good. You know, you guys don't get to hear about my love life, but that ain't bad either. You know, and you know, things are just firing out, like quality time with my kids, just really intentional.
Nice.
I'm like learning how to play with them. It's laborious.
I mean, to learn that in your 30s, all that, good for you, man.
I know I almost feel like I'm waiting for something to break. But I forgot how I started sharing, why I shared that. You were asking me something, or no? I forgot how we got there. Yeah, you were sharing about what's a happy
Oh yeah, so I was talking about peace.
Yeah.
And then just really.
Oh no, you're giving me a word of advice. That's what you're doing. A challenge. What was the challenge for me?
No, is.
He's like, oh well. Oh, so I was telling you this is I've been doing this. I've been running like this, but last week it was the first time I felt like my body can no longer hang with my mind and my spirit, and I got a cold, and my body couldn't hang on anymore.
So I'll say it this way, okay? Running at 100% is great. But, I know what I was saying. There's always a weak link. Could be one of your kids.
Yeah.
Could be your wife. Could be your parents. And if you're running at 100% all the time, and now your middle kid needs some time, your parents need a ride to the doctor, you get sick. Now you're running at 120%. And I think that for me, I recognize that I'm living my best life at 80%.
You shared that before. Yeah.
Because then when something happens, or
you can catch
more than likely it's not me, it's one of my kids needs more attention, or I recognize like my wife's keeping up with me, but she's not thriving.
It's good.
So I need to be able to, there has to be reserve, because if I'm running at 100% all the time, then there's a hiccup. I'll tell you some dumb story. I come home last night and I deliberately try to not be at the academies on Tuesday. So I trained during the day, got some other stuff done, very productive day. I was home by 5 o'clock. So in my garage, there's a washing machine and a dryer, and the washing machine has this hose into this big utility sink, and the water drains in the utility sink.
Okay.
Somewhere, it turned on more violently than it should, and the hose popped out of the sink. So I walk into the garage, and it's like this much water, and I'm just like, come on. Like,
oh, your garage, like...
Yeah. So I went from rest mode to...
fight or flight.
Now I got to pick everything up super fast, sweep out the garage, find fans, hope that mold doesn't grow.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's say that happened when I got home usually, which is 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Sure.
After that water was sitting there for 5 hours.
Yeah, your house is...
So it's little things like that where if you don't really think about it in that term, you just think about it like, oh, it's a problem, I got to go deal with it.
Yeah.
But I actually had an okay night. It wasn't ruined or anything. I dealt with it, me and my son. But But if every day of my life though used to be grinding, so there was no room for air. It was almost like the president of the United States. They had meetings stacked every 3 minutes, and you're super productive. Oh, you wouldn't know anything about that. But then when something happens and then it gets all screwed up, well, whose fault was that? Was my own, because I set up my day like that. Nobody tells you what to do. You tell you what to do.
That's correct.
So I always tell this story. My friend, one of my best buddies, would schedule times to go surfing. And I'm like, that's such a weird thing to do. But I realize it's super smart because he's scheduling in rest. I just started doing that. I mean, I'm not, it's like a badge of shame, but I just started doing that recently.
Me too.
Because how I'm wired is like, oh, I got 10 minutes. Yeah. Let me go do this. Let me fit that in.
Yeah, my problem is, I get bored of the rest. I'm like, what am I resting for? But I know I need it. And so this is the word that between me and Luke, our head of education here, we talk about is like, I'm trying to teach him to skip, like learn the lessons that I'm learning at 30, in my late 30s, in his late 20s. And he's way ahead, like levels ahead of who I was at the same age. But it's like, I watch his life and I'm like, I get frustrated with him certain times. I'm like, oh, he's just doing what he's seen me do. He's just copying me. He's like carbon copy of like just over delivering for people, giving, and no buffer in the schedule.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'll put buffer in my schedule and I'll abuse the buffer. Like, oh, well, I know I have 10 minutes. I'll just keep going. Next thing I know, it's 20 minutes, right? And I did that yesterday. I went over on a meeting. I had to reschedule with Kara. That's good. I like that. Thank you. That's a good challenge.
Like
that goes into my word of peace and play. Yeah.
Well, like finishing well,
Yeah.
In church, they always talk about well done, good and faithful servant. Yeah. I knew a dude that was 10 years older than me. And to make a long story short, he just imploded. Like he had an affair, screwed up everything.
Yeah.
Bunch of people, like it affected a lot of people. And I thought about it, I'm still buddies with the guy. And I thought about it, I'm like, how does that happen? It's, if I told you, hey, 10 years from now, you're gonna do this, because he was about 10 years older than me. You'd be like, there's no way that's gonna happen to me. But yet, it happens to people a lot smarter than you and I all the time. Sure. And so, but I think what it was is, you gradually get disconnected from God, from your spouse, from reality, and you start living this life like rock stars don't start out with this rock star personality, like, hey, Los Angeles, how you doing, right? But then after a while, you become the persona, and now you're walking around the kitchen talking like you're on stage,
I mean, I'm not a rock star, I don't know any, so I don't relate to that, but I can see that.
But you know what? You become the persona.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I'm Ron, whether it's business guy, missions guy, jiu-jitsu guy, wise sage, like I could become this parody of myself.
Well, it sounds like it's what happens is you start to forget to do the common things uncommonly well.
Yeah. And but rest, reflection, be still and know that I'm God.
Yeah.
Like that's very hard for me to do.
Yeah, sure.
So I schedule that in.
That's good.
I mean, you look at my calendar and it's got all these like weird things on the calendar because it's reminders of me to
slow down.
Yeah, like one thing I have on my calendar, it's like fill Wendy's tank.
I like that.
Because
all the married folks out there.
Yeah, because you forget to do, and that's,
Yeah.
I need that reminder. It's like, it's not just about me. It's like, what does she need?
I love that. We'll probably do a whole nother episode on marriage alone. Man, as we kind of wrap up, I got one question for you, and I could talk to you forever. But one question I have for you is, if there's one action that our listeners on the Triple H podcast could take after, hearing this conversation, what would you challenge them to? to live a happier, healthier life?
One challenge. I would say live life in the absence of fear. I would say surround yourself with people.
I see you, my man.
Ooh, I like that.
I see you, my man.
I would say surround yourself with people that you give somebody, like you have the express opportunity, privilege, right to speak into my life, to speak into my business, to speak into my marriage, to speak into me as a father. I give you that place in my life.
I didn't realize that I had
Okay?
that. I'm honored. Okay.
No, but because when I say that to you, now if you see me being mean to my wife, if you see me living life out of balance, if you see anything, if I'm unethical, it's not like, wow, I wonder if I can talk to Ron about that. I gave you the place in my life to talk to me about that. You know, running a nonprofit jiu-jitsu school, integrity is super important.
Sure.
And I don't want anybody to be like, oh, I should have told Ron, but I didn't want him to get mad at me. I want everybody that has that place. I'm not saying air your business out to everybody. I'm saying the people, though, that have that place in your life, you're on my board, I trust you. When you recognize that you want to live, I'll speak personally, I want to live this life in the absence of fear. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be afraid, but I'm endeavoring to get over this fear. I need to surround myself with people that will be very honest with me, because you'll be like, you know what, Ron? If you don't pay any taxes for a long enough period of time, you will get audited, and it's not a wise move. That's you being truthful with me.
Yeah.
You know, but so I have to live in reality and do things in accordance with reality.
Yep.
Or you may say, you know what, Ron? You may fail, but I know who you are. I know what you're driven to do. I know what your goals are. You should go and try this, because if you don't succeed, it's going to be okay. And I have your back. You know, we're 2.5 years in, and we're about to open a second location in Boyle Heights.
Yep.
It's a huge task, monetarily, time-wise, resources. I really feel like this is what I'm called to do.
Yep.
So if I'm going to be the first one over the ridge, let's go take that mountain, then I got to go do that. And I need wise counsel around me. I need people that are going to support me while also still helping me live in reality. But I'm going to go try.
Yeah.
And I think if we all take that approach and we surround ourselves with people that will help us live our best life.
Yeah, it buffers the fear.
Yeah. Then whether you have 10% of Arcadia or 2% of Arcadia, if that 2% is the right 2%, you can still change Arcadia. But remember, common people are common. There's a reason why average people are average, because they're not willing to put in the work to not be average. And that's just a fact of life.
That's good.
So,
wow. So much wisdom, man. That's a lot of black belt wisdom. I know that you put here that if people want to get in contact with you or connect with you, you are East _LA Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram, as well as Boyle Heights Jiu-Jitsu and Ethos Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes. And, you know, I could say this too. We have a lot of folks on our mat. I call it examples of excellence. And so it's not just about jiu-jitsu. It's about these kids understanding what somebody's path to excellence looks like. So for example, if you have, you and I talk about this, if you have friends, I always welcome people onto our mat, because if you're a business person, or if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're a professional, whatever it is you are, if you're excellent, if you're an excellent person and you're excellent at what you do, it gives our students an opportunity to meet somebody that's excellent at what they do and hear their path to excellence.
That's good.
So that I guess is another ask. If people want to be involved in East LA Jiu-Jitsu. Now remember, we deal with kids, so you can't just walk in off the street and be like, hey, I want to take all the kids on a field trip. It doesn't work that way. But once you're vetted and we get to know you, I would love to have more people involved, because we're doing significant things
Amazing things, yeah.
Yeah.
It's changing the neighborhood.
So the door's always open with vetting.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me here today. You know, as always, if you guys found this valuable, please share with someone that's doing jiu-jitsu or someone that just wants to live a happier, healthier life. please send us questions. And thank you, Ron, for your black belt level wisdom. That was a lot, and I'm really appreciative of your time. So let us know if you want to have him back on the podcast. And if there's any guests, please send them our way as well. Stay happy, stay healthy.
Thanks, guys.